So there's the dog. That's the first dog that showed up. Carolyn's kind of naming her Red. Look at that tail just flapping around. When we met her, oh, we also got a flea collar on her, you may have noticed. When we met her, her tail was tucked between her legs. Oh my. But now she genuinely seems happy, but she is still a little hesitant to get involved with activities with us. She will come up and she'll get petted now, but she's very jumpy. So she's getting better all the time. I see leaps and bounds of positive behavior. So okay, so as you know, the truck has had another issue of being sick. So the other day I told you what was it doing? So there's 4 symptoms that was going on. Anytime the truck sat overnight, and you started it, the oil pressure would jump up to 80 psi. That was the max it would go. The air conditioner wouldn't work. The thermostat, the thermometer, wouldn't increase at all in temperature, and the fan would run really hot, really fast. The fan would be in overdrive. So what I was doing to make that not do that was unplugging the negative battery every night before, or when we returned home. So that was doing okay. I mean, I didn't like having to do it, and I knew there was a problem. And of course, I wasn't letting it code. If it was going to code, I don't know if it ever did code. I was worried that the oil pressure was too high, because I Googled it, and the oil pressure should not be running continuously at 80 psi. It needs to go to 80 psi occasionally. I've never seen it go to 80, but the variable valve timing, the VVT, which are 2 little solenoids, I've replaced those in the past. In order for those to open up, it opens up with hydraulic pressure, oil pressure. So when you hit the gas, there's a secondary oil pump. You got 2 oil pumps, one stacked on top of the other one. The secondary opens up when you get above 3,000 RPMs, and the oil pressure will jump up. The second oil pump kicks on, so the oil pressure jumps up to about 74, and the variable valve timing then opens up, and then the oil pressure drops right back down almost instantly, about 40 to 50. So I was worried about not resetting the battery, because I didn't want it to blow out any seals with the oil pressure. So I finally decided to take it to a mechanic, and he struggled to find the problem. He couldn't find the problem. So I took it to him on Tuesday. I told you this story. I took it to him on Tuesday. He kept it overnight, because that's when the symptoms occur. The next day he started, didn't see any problems. Did it again on Thursday, didn't see any problems. So I called him and we discussed it. Looks like he's had this out, because that's all clean. So I wonder why he had to take that out. So that's not even on the bill, but that sure is clean. So I explained the symptoms to him again on Thursday, and I was wondering, could it be the secondary thermometer? What happens is that, according to what I was reading, it's a sending unit, is it compares the differences in temperatures between sending units. I don't know what sending units it's comparing the differences to, but it's comparing the differences. And if there's a big difference, it throws the system, the cooling system, into safe mode. And the safe mode included the things that I had discussed: the fan kicking on, the oil pressure going up, the air conditioner not working, which makes sense. You don't want to add extra heat to the engine area. And the thermometer, it never said anything about the thermometer not working, but it was, I assumed, the same issue. So Friday night, he calls me and says, okay, I got it to duplicate what you were saying. So he said that it needed a new sending unit, which is way back here. And I don't even know where it is. I've looked and looked, and I don't know what he's talking about. You can tell that they've been back here, because they're, look how dirty that is and how clean that is. But they said they had to take this whole shroud off, take the wipers and the motors and everything off just to get to it. So I really don't know where it's at. I certainly can't see it. I see a wire way down there. It might be it. Maybe. I don't know. So it cost $411, $13 to get it all fixed up. There was a $100 charge for the computer reading. But again, I don't know if it ever coded, so I don't know. I mean, they did check it with the computer, so I guess that counts. And the reason I know they checked it because he said there was a 10-degree difference between the two readings. So, picked it up yesterday about noon, and so I wanted to apologize to you because I did a video, a previous video, because I just ran out of time yesterday. I didn't have time to actually make a video with all that was going on. So we ran to town, and everything was fine, running great, doing everything we're supposed to do. Got all the way to Walmart, went over to Save a Lot after that, and as we were leaving, probably didn't even get a mile down the road, the cluster, the panel, you know, all the gauges and everything, was screaming at me, dinging, car's overheating, engine's overheating. So I actually cut in front of traffic, made a left-hand turn. I turned my blinker on and just whipped into the parking lot because it was already maxed out. It was hot. So I opened the hood, and it didn't feel like it was excessively hot in there. It really didn't. So, I mean, when the car overheats, you see a lot of problems. I mean, the antifreeze usually bubbling and different things. So I was kind of scratching my head. So I reset the computer just in case that was it. Because sometimes, well, when I changed the thermostat, for example, I had to reset the computer for it to accept the new thermostat. It's still, I mean, it was saying it was overheating, although I didn't get all those bells and whistles and screaming at me and making all that noise. The thermostat would just go out of spec on temperature. So I reset the computer and that went away. So I reset the computer and it didn't reset. Usually when I reset it, it goes, makes a whiny noise. So I tried it again, and then I hooked the jumper cables up to discharge it, the condensers. I knew I wasn't going to give it enough time to do that, but every time I checked the engine, the temperature gauge was dropping significantly. So within 5 minutes, it was 50 degrees less than it was before. So I looked, and it looked like the antifreeze was just a tad low. Well, I have some in the truck. I always carry some. So I added some, and I let it cool down until it was at the temperature that, normal operating temperature. I let it cool down until it got to there. And I said, well, let's go. We'll just keep a close eye on it while we're driving. If it happens again, we'll pull over and let it cool off, in the hopes that we could get home. I mean, we're 40 miles from home, so that was gonna be a stretch. So I started it up. It stayed at temperature, drove probably half a mile. It bounced a little, the temperature gauge, just a little, maybe 20 degrees, bounced up and came back down, bounced up, came back down. Did fine all the way home. So today we drove it, went to pick up 2 mowers, again, probably, 30 miles away, country roads. Did fine. We started it several times. When we got back, we had to go to Dollar General, so we drove to Dollar General, shut off the engine. That would have kind of duplicated us going to Walmart. And then we went over to the gas station. That would have duplicated us going to the Save a Lot store. Went over to the little grocery store to pick up some half and half. That would have kind of duplicated us going to, the extra mile. It should have overheated by then if it was going to do what it did yesterday, and it didn't do it. But it is bouncing every time I start it up, put it in gear, it's bouncing. Now I'm not saying that's not supposed to happen. It may happen every time, and I've just never noticed it. I never really look at it. I mean, I look at it quite regularly, actually. But not when you're, pulling out of parking lots and different things. I probably never pay attention to it, but we were paying real close attention to it. So in case something happened, we could pull over in a hurry. So I do know, I'm sure a lot of you know, that when you evacuate the cooling system a little bit, and even if just a little bit, you taking that sending unit out, antifreeze would have fell out of it, or the antifreeze fell out and they never refilled it. That could be too. But you can get air bubbles in the system, and you got to work those air bubbles out. There she is. So usually you kind of squeeze the hoses, try to work those air bubbles out. You start it up, shut it down, start it up. I don't know if they did that. It's not on the invoice. So, and they gave it back to me relatively early, at noon. So I'm thinking they didn't do it. That's okay. I mean, I added the antifreeze. It's still at the level that I put it at. So I'm kind of guessing that must have been it. It was just low on antifreeze, or there might have been air bubbles in it. And once I put some antifreeze in it, everything equalized and drove fine. So fingers crossed that everything's fixed in it. So here's the thing. So earlier this year we had some issues with it. I changed the variable valve timing, changed the oil pressure sensor. I just did several things, and it came up to about $300. Me just fishing around. Now, I feel like I saved a lot of money doing it that way, because if he'd have done it, he and I don't even agree what's wrong with it. What I think fixed it was I changed the oil and I put a thicker grade oil in it. We had a conversation about that. He said, well, that wouldn't have made a difference. But it did. So, I didn't want to argue with him too much, but the matter of the fact is when I changed the oil, the problem went away. So, I don't know. I'm worried that he'd have changed the oil pump, and we'd have been up to a couple $1,000s. So I spent $300. Well, this one I knew I wasn't going to be able to do, because that sensor is way in the back, and I don't even know where it's at. There's no videos on it, so let him do it. Now we're up to $400 on that. So that's $700 for the year on the truck. Now, I'm sure the trolls are going to say, get a new truck. You need to get a new truck. Well, I'm not going to buy a new truck. I'm never going to buy a new truck. I'm done buying new trucks. I don't want to go in debt again, ever. And, I'm getting to the age where I don't feel like I should. This truck's 10 years old, and it's got 100,000 miles on it. So these trucks can last 200, 250. Some of them last 300,000 miles. So if I continue down this path, now in the beginning of its life, we drove it a lot. The first 40,000 miles probably took us a year. So that means, what, the next 9 years, we put about, I guess, what, 10,000 a year on it. So not much. So if it can last another 10 or 15, 20 years, we're getting to the end of my life. I may not be able to drive by then. So $700. Let's say it costs $700 every year to fix it. Now, we got some maintenance items we need to take care of. New tires. I want to get the rear end oil changed. I want to get the transmission oil changed. Somebody's going to say, well, you should do that yourself. You got to drop a cross beam member on to change the transmission fluid. Otherwise, I would. And I'm just not sure I want to start dropping support structures. I'll be crawling up underneath there. I don't have a lift. So I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to change the brakes. I'll probably do those myself. So we got some money we got to do within the next year and a half. Again, those are just maintenance items. And I don't consider maintenance items cost towards a vehicle. You got to maintain vehicles. You just got to. So, even if I bought a used vehicle, let's say I bought one, you're still going to have all these problems, plus you're going to have to replace the maintenance items. So I'm just going to keep this. I mean, it's a great running truck. Uh-oh, she's grunting. She's stretched. So I mean, I know that it's had a couple problems, but in the end, it runs fine. I mean, really don't have you know, a lot of serious issues, I don't think. So I think we're going to hang on to it. $700 a year doesn't seem like a lot of money to maintain a vehicle. You figure, the way my father used to always explain vehicles is whatever a new car payment is, let's say it's a $300 or $400 a month. So let's say it's $400 a month. So in the last 12 months, we've put $700. So $400 a month for 12 months is what, $4,800 or something like that. So we're way far away from having a new car payment, $4,800 a year. So, you know, Dad said if you buy a used car for $300 a month, every month you buy a new used car, $400 a month, you're still kind of right at that payment range. So yeah, $700, I think it's worth it. So I'm sure there's going to be bigger expenses, but not right now. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video on my other channel. Really appreciate it if you go check it out. So if I can inspire you to work through your problems so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.